plane!
It's Superman! Yes, it's Superman!
In 1934, National Comics Publications was founded, which later, in 1977, became DC Comics, which in 2024 has grown so much, it has huge, massive fans across its fandom, like myself, Woody sometimes, and definitely our guests, Paul, aka DC World, and Luke Bugg, aka the Geek of Steel, who love everything that DC do. Luke, Paul, welcome to our version of the Fortress of Solitude. Talk to Dorks.
Thanks for having us on.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Looking forward to chatting about all things geeky.
Did by any chance was my facts correct? Are you good enough to have checked them in your head, or was it like
It sounded pretty okay.
Yeah.
It sounded. I mean, I've got my encyclopedia of DC behind me, several different versions. I'm sure the facts were there in the right order. I think you did very well, Ryan. Well done.
He read it with confidence. That's all that matters, eh?
You did.
Yeah,
that's
that's
it. That's
it.
half the battle.
It sounds good. I believed it.
There you go. I was like, do you know what? If there's anything I should know, it's DC. But I did double check.
Well
And
done.
I did go with Wikipedia, which is sometimes a bit risky.
Living dangerously, but yeah, it's all right. We got there.
Paul and Luke are fresh off the heels of, would you say, the biggest trip of your lives, guys?
I think so. It was one of the most well organised seven days. That's for sure. Paul and I, we've been planning this this Comic-Con America adventure for quite some time, and our powers combined, we had a magnificent week.
It's amazing. And obviously, I was managed to follow your whole journey throughout social media. So the guys went for a whole week. It happened to coincide with San Diego Comic-Con week, which was pretty good timing, guys.
Very well planned.
Yeah, spent a couple of days in LA and then headed down to San Diego Comic-Con. So there is a lot to talk about. Boys, start at the beginning. What was it like when you first got there? Had you both been to LA? I know I should know these answers.
I'd been in LA like 16 years ago, the exact week
Yeah.
he was actually there. It just come up on a flashback, but it was a flying visit. I was there for like half an hour and went because we was doing like
That's it, I remember you saying.
Supercross event. So that was just then, and this was all new and fresh and going in to see what it was like. And straight off the plane to the hotel, Ryan, was on your recommendation. We went to the Scum and Villainy bar just to try that out, didn't we, Luke?
That was, yeah, it was my first time going west coast of America. So I was like, this is Hollywood, this is LA, this is the places that I've seen on TV and movies over the air, and I'm here now. And after sort of a day of traveling, it was quite surreal to be like, okay, they've let us into the country. We've gotten all our paperwork is legit. We are in fact here. Let's go and get some scran. And yeah, we went to this the Scum and Villainy bar, and it was like walking in to the cantina. They were playing the music. We had the food. There were Star Wars people everywhere. But for my liking, the dude behind the bar was dressed as Clark Kent. So two very different fandoms came together, I feel, just for me and Paul on that one special occasion.
And the thing is, obviously, I said to Paul that a recommendation because when I went, it was before I even knew it existed, and I must have walked past it and not realising what it was going to be. I believe, I don't know if you would know, would you have known of that, Luke, beforehand? Because I saw a picture, when I just did a little Google search on you, I saw a picture of you with the guy that helped me find it, Mr. Kevin Smith.
I wouldn't have known. Look, seeing it outside, it's just like a regular, it's that part of that LA strip, nice dark concrete, very subtle. You wouldn't know what's inside unless you knew. And it's got that sort of like teasing name. It just sounds like any other bar, really. But people of that fandom that are a little bit geeky would recognise those words of scum and villainy. And yeah, as soon as you go in the door, we got past a very mean-looking security guy that I thought was in fancy dress. He wasn't. He was legit, like proper Sons of Anarchy dude. I was like, okay, yeah, you're not themed dressed up. And then we were in there. We were in the cantina. It was amazing.
It looks so good. I said, so it's Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man Beyond. That's generally where it's recorded when they're doing it live. So that's how I knew of it. And obviously, of course, I started listening to that about 2 weeks after I came back from America.
Just missed it.
Just missed it, but you got to go there for me, and I'm so glad you got to see it. And when I saw that was one of the first things you did as well, I was like, yes, he listened.
It was a good recommendation. It's always quite worrying when you give someone like a recommendation to go somewhere to eat or somewhere to drink that it's not going to live up to its hype. But this place really did. It was so much fun.
And you're going on a geek out holiday, like why not start it in the right way? I mean, just walking down Hollywood, I mean, when you see them stars, you like, you know where you are, even though in real life they are just bits of pavement, really.
I never realised like how long the Hollywood Boulevard is, and that goes, I don't know, it's probably like a mile or 2 miles, because I remember we'd done like the Christopher Reeve Star one day before we left the next day, and it was over a mile back to Funko when we was going there, and I was like, I ain't walking a mile, and it was like 32 degrees, it was really hot, really dry, smelly. we just grabbed a cab and just took us down, but that's when you realise how many stars there are. It just goes for miles.
And I don't know about you, but I was trying to find myself. I'm trying to look at every single one, so I'm not bumping into people as well, and knocking people out of the way, just in case you miss an important one. Before I left, the night before we were leaving, I was sitting in a bar, and I was like, I still need to get Elvis. Christopher Reeve was another one I needed to go and get, so I was like, I'm just going to go now. This was like 10 o'clock at night. I started walking. Elvis is really far into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It weren't till I got there, took the pictures, looked round, and went,
oh.
Yeah, shouldn't be here.
There's no people, and there's a few lowriders driving around, and I've seen these movies.
Yeah, there was definitely a few interesting characters up and down that strip. Again, as we were doing what you did, we were looking down at our feet and not looking up. And there were a few times when we thought, yeah, maybe we shouldn't look quite so touristy right now. Let's get back to the safety of our hotel sharpish.
Yeah, because you forget, like, I've seen these in movies all the time, but then sometimes you forget what kind of movies you've seen.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah, literally down and out in Beverly Hills. It was crazy.
Literally. Did you also, obviously, when you were walking down Hollywood Boulevard, did you see the Scientology building? Did you go past that and experience that sort of weird feeling?
I was waiting for it. I'm a big Scientology fan. I'm not a member. They wouldn't have me. But I saw the building. I was like, Paul, you got to take a picture. I think it's the only building down that strip that is completely clean and pristine looking from the bottom to the top. And it is a huge building with a nice big plaque outside saying, come on in, have a little chat. Let's come and see what we can offer. And I was like, oh, do I go in or are they going to get me?
That's what's up. Let's go in. We can come back out. He went, you won't come back out without them signing you up.
So it's been a long day, a long day of travel. We were both quite impressionable. Yeah. At that point, probably not the best to go into the building of Scientology.
Yeah, I will.
When I was there, I don't know if it was something like they had like this weird kind of what you expect Scientology. If you've played GTA, it's that weird music that plays when you're doing that mission in GTA 5. It's that weird music. I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel like I'm going to go meet Tom Cruise if I go in that building.
Yeah, the cogs started turning. I think, hang on a minute, something's not quite right yet. But yet, I'm still, tempted to go in to see what's behind, that curtain, as it were.
Before you left LA and headed down to San Diego, though, you went to something else. Again, do you know how much seeing you guys do the Warner Brothers Studio Tour was because how different it is to when I went there. They had DC, but not as much as what you guys saw.
So much like it. I was warned by like our Warner Brothers reps that wait till you see the Batcave area. So I didn't Google too much on that or the tour really, because we wanted to go in all fresh and explore it. So the hour you went in, they took you out on the cart. You had a really good rep. They was all organised. There's like 8 of you in a group. They drove around, showing you all the different buildings, in and outs, how it all works for filming. And then the rest was all free roaming. And once we hit that DC zone, we was hours in there.
Yeah, we're not leaving. We've got our tickets. You can't make us leave until we are done. So yeah, we did spend a lot of time in there. But again, as Paul said, the first part of the tour was fascinating to learn about this movie lot, to learn about the history of Warner Brothers and the impact that it's had on the world of film and pop culture. But then, we had that time, we went to the Friends part, we rode on a bat bike, we did some fun little interactions there and sat on the Big Bang sofa. And then it was time to go and visit this DC exhibit that, as Paul said, I'd seen some people have been there before and I've seen some photographs, but I didn't know how vast, how extensive this collection was. And the fact that you could get right up close, not much sort of glass protection. There were for some parts, but other than that, you could get literally, I was trying not to just grab Henry Cavill's cape to see what the fabric was. It was great.
The exec said it was extensive when I thought I went, but like they had the Batcave, you had so it was 2018, so it was the year after Justice League, so they had all the Justice League suits there, but they didn't have, obviously you had every cape up on the wall when you saw it. The Solitude, like it looked like a window, didn't it? Like a glass window. You had it was so much more than what I see. I'm literally looking up. I can see my picture sitting on the friend's sofa as well. So I've done it, sat on that same sofa. But again, it's like everything you did was twice as much because we weren't allowed to go behind and look like we were pouring a coffee. It was only the sofa and move on.
Yeah.
I went. No Big Bang. No Big Bang sofa, and the Bat Pod. When I watched your videos of the Bat Pod, I could hear the woman or the guy because they tell you the instructions. They look over your shoulder, sway left and right, and I was waiting for you to look over your shoulders. Like I did that. I've got the same video.
Our guy was called Ryan. The guy that was sort of that was directing us did a fantastic job. I was screaming my voice off. I was going, "I am Batman." We didn't get any audio back. It was just me sounding like an absolute plum on this fake Batman bike. But
get you in the zone.
lots of fun. Yeah, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
You see, Woody's, you've never been to the West Coast, have you? You've been to East Coast, but Universal Studios there when you were a kid. When you were there, was you too young to get into all that sort of stuff, or was it just about?
Yeah, that'd have been like 2001. I think the last time. Yeah,
96.
Yeah. So
ouch.
Not much I can remember of that one.
Go again. Go to the West Coast and experience this. That's what I can say to anybody that is a fan of movies or the world of pop culture. This tour is seriously, and there's different levels. You can do a VIP tour as well. There's other aspects to it, and it is easily something you could spend all day at. It was a lot of fun.
And that you didn't get to do the Universal Studios when you were there because you were literally only in LA for like 2 days, right?
Like a day and a half, really combined. It was a real
you got
whirlwind.
The important one out of the way. That's it.
Yes.
The only bit we did, like the night before we left LA, we was like in at 8 o'clock, and I was like, we weren't going to bed till like 10ish. And I said to the lady on like this desk in the shop at the hotel, I was like, they had a bus outside, a really old fashioned sort of movie bus that took people out. We didn't know where, so we said, where can we go just for the evening? Is anywhere near? She said, get the bus, 10 minutes. It takes you to Universal, but it's got like a street outside, a shopping street.
Yeah.
All free. Go there and you can buy stuff. And I did end up buying something there. Yeah. We got the bus up there and was up there for like an hour and a half, weren't we, Luke? And it was nice.
It was nice. It was like kind of like downtown Disney, what it used to be like back in the day. And we got on this little tram, headed up the hills, and it was nice to be sort of seen somewhere else. Again, that is completely, vastly different to Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah. There's so many different boroughs, just like the GTA game, pretty much. There are different neighborhoods where you can go to. It's quite cliche to say that LA is like GTA, but I was like, okay, I know San Andreas better than I know my hometown.
It's scary.
And
I
seeing that there
on the game before I went,
it's all there.
Passport, everything is like when we went to Santa Monica Pier, and I've literally got a video where I'm just stood on it spinning around. You hear me go, jumped a helicopter off that. I've got the end of this.
It's scarily accurate, and you can see that it is heavily based on San Andreas and GTA, and it was perfect for me because I was like, okay, this really feels like I'm here now. Seeing that and seeing the Hollywood sign, we just passed that one, like we were walking down the strip, and Paul was like, that's the Hollywood sign. Selfies, come on, let's take some pictures.
Zoom in.
Yeah, zoom in. Yeah, really zoom in.
Was that the first time you'd been there, Luke, or had you been there before?
Yeah, no, this was my first time going anywhere on the West Coast. I've been East Coast and sort of Middle America, but never that far over. But now I have, and I do kind of want to go back.
Yeah. But this, again, when I did it, because I'd waited to go to America my whole life, I'd never been. When Ryan's my nephew as well as producer / one of my closest friends.
And we're both called Ryan.
Yeah, we're both called Ryan. We're boring in our family. Your guy was called Ryan. He's probably related to us. But when he went with my dad and my brother, so I should have gone when I was younger, but I was like 19 at the time, so it was like more important about going out in Basildon, Essex, than it was going out to a Florida
We
with my dad.
different priorities back then. Different priorities.
Yeah. I was stupid. I was so stupid. So I didn't get to go, but when I went in 2018, it was the dream holiday. I'd set 3 goals myself in 1 year when I went full time with DJ, and one of them, as a story that shares me and Paul, was to meet one of the guys that got to play a Superman, and
I
that's
see him.
Clark Kent himself and Jonathan Schneider. Same day that Paul was there.
I was there that day. I was there that day as well. I've got that same photograph with Tom and John.
Have you explained the story, Paul, to Luke?
I did tell him. We was probably in that same room at the same time.
Under the same roof.
Yeah,
which is so weird. I don't know if I told you this right. So went to meet obviously Jonathan Kent and Clark Kent from Smallville, queuing up, and at the time they were talking. I can't remember why they were talking about. They were talking about tiggling. And there are like making jokes with everyone that goes up. And as they go up, as I went up, Tom Welling, who plays Clark Kent, went to put his arm around me and he went, "Are you ticklish, Ryan?" And as he did it, I went, "Whoa!" "Oh, not there, Tom." And he went bright red. Oh,
yeah, I remember this. I was in there. I was about 6 people away. I was like in the booth going round, and I remember him going red and all embarrassed. And it was definitely that. When you were telling me, I was like, I was in there then.
I feel bad now because I've probably proper embarrassed in front of all of his fans, but it's one of those stories. You know what I mean? I've got a moment to say that Clark Kent took my bum.
That's not, get that on a t-shirt. I tell you what, that's the one.
When you was in LA, what was your favourite part?
I think for me the tour was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
just being there was very exciting. All the different elements of breakfast were very exciting. All that wonderful crispy bacon and all this tasty treats. But for me, being in that element of movie history, walking around the tour and seeing the Superman costumes, seeing the Batman costumes, it was it felt very real as a DC Comics and Superman fan. So to say like, okay, this is what we do. This is why we do what we do. It's about embracing our passions and taking steps out of comfort zones for sure to embrace those things that we love. So for me, I think the Warner Brothers tour was a huge aspect for me.
Yeah, I think the same. And there's one bit we missed out on, like when we was chatting the other day. There was we got outside, very excited. Luke left the cab door open. We'd done all photos outside to go in. We hadn't even got in the building yet. And this guy came out and went, "That place is fucking awesome." And that was before we'd even got near the door. And I was like, that's the review we wanted.
That's it. That's what we wanted to hear. And he was there just for he was traveling down to the con as well. Yeah. And he just went in there for a quick visit to the gift shop, which was, dangerous, but very, very nice.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I've got a hat somewhere. I was like, I'll just get a hat. Because if I spend any more, I'm not going to. This is like my second day of the holiday. I've got nothing left, and I've got to go Vegas yet.
It was a good shop. I mean, I used to love the Warner Brothers shop in London, and I remember the one in New York as well. And Paul was saying he used to go to his local one a lot as well. And it was like, okay, there's things here that we physically, in England, we can't go on the Warner Brothers website. It won't even let you in. And there was even more exclusive stuff in the actual store. So, yeah. We weren't buying too much at first. And then I looked over, me and Paul had split up, and I saw that he was carrying a basket. And I thought, well, if he's getting a basket, I'm getting a basket. If he's getting a lanyard, I'm getting a lanyard. And then there were T-shirts, cups, magnets, everything was going in the basket. But
did you preempt with your suitcases, like, we'll take half? No, or did you have to push it all in on the way back?
I tell you what, after one particular night, Paul had to go and get another suitcase. But one particular night, I was just on my bed because I was just chilling out, and I was watching Paul pack his cases. This man has gone to college or university or taken a course in packing suitcases like a goddamn pro. He was there in his head, like doing numbers like Rain Man, packing it like a Tetris game. Every single thing that he got in there is miraculous. I think you posted one photograph the other night, Paul, of like one of two of all the DC swag that he got in LA and at the con, and it was impressive to say the least.
I sent it to you today, Ryan, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. I literally just put back at now. That's a haul. Like how much stuff I could. I was more concerned when I went was because we were doing 3 different places. I had to pack for all weathers. We were ending up on our third part was Toronto, so I was like, I've got jumpers. I won't need them in LA, but I need jumpers. And I was like, I could buy them when I'm out there, but they're going to be $100 for the ones I want at least. So. Yeah, packing. Do you know what image I had, Paul? Do you remember the Mr. Bean episode when he's trying to pack for the suitcase and he packs it all perfectly fine and then just...
I had to leave Teddy there, though.
Just launches it all out, just puts one thing in it.
Oh, yeah. That's what it's like. That's why I had to buy another case. It weren't that. It was like, we was quite lucky. I'll say Funko, but like we got lucky with them and we got some freebies and they're quite big and that took space up. So, but yeah, I ended up getting another case just to keep everything safe, really. It was worth paying the extra for that rather than try and post it all home and wait for it. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper to get another case. So,
it's worrying that you're going to, it's just because it's such a journey, isn't it? It's that you might damage anything. That's the only issue. Before we move down from LA down to San Diego, which is where the story gets even more interesting, Wood, is there any questions you wanted to know from the guys? Because I've asked quite a lot about the LA part or the trip itself.
I was just gonna segue on to the San Diego part. Like, how did you get from LA to San Diego? Did you fly or was it like a
This was something that I was really excited about. I'm a bit of a train nerd, and I've always wanted to travel across America in a big old diesel train. And we found out that Paul said, we can either get we can drive down, we can get a taxi, we can hire a car, or we can get a train. And I was like, we're getting the train. So I was left in charge of that. And like for only something like $20 more, you could get this particular train in business class. Now, it wasn't like ridiculously fancy, but it meant that you had a bit more comfort going down the coast. And it was always Paul's idea that if we're going on this trip, we need to have moments when we are taking it easy, relaxing, not getting too worked up, not getting stressed out. He's a wonderful advocate for mental health, is our Paul, and he looked after us a lot. So we got this train from LA down to San Diego, about 3 hours, and it was a gorgeous train. And we were told to sit on the right-hand side because it went past the ocean as it went past. Yeah. And it was a fantastic, relaxing 3 hours. We got a lunch. We sat down, watched the world go by. Paul got off to have a little wander, came back with a hot dog. I was like, hello.
I found a little kitchen.
I don't know if he cooks it himself. I was like, I'm not going to complain. You put a hot dog in my hand, I'm going to eat it. But yeah, it was a great way to see a little bit more of the country, to experience something different, and just to sit down and relax for a few hours before even more exciting times in San Diego.
Because we knew what was coming up for 5 days after that. As soon as that train landed there, we knew we was on the clock. Get to the hotel, non-stop. Get our passes, off it went.
But it's also the fact that you think, I'm traveling across. I mean, I'm sure we all grew up wanting to be in America because everything we loved was based in America. And we've seen these places a million times. So it's that just traveling across. Again, when I went, not to always go back to mine, but when I went, I'm in iron about what we were doing. We were doing LA. We were ending in Toronto. It was the middle bit we weren't sure, and we were going to go. San Diego was an option, but obviously weren't going to be around Comic-Con or San Francisco. We looked at flying, looked at trains, and then I discovered that America also has the Megabus, which is really cheap. And we looked, and it was like $15 to San Francisco. We're like, oh, that's pretty good. We could do that. It's a sleeper, 12 till 9. We could spend the night in it. But then my friend went, where else does it go from LA? And Las Vegas was the next one down on the list. And she went, how much? I went, $5.
Sold.
We're going to Vegas.
Yeah, we're going to Vegas.
And we were meant to go, it was meant to take 6 hours, but there was some kind of like fire or something on the one highway we was meant to go. Oof. So they took another route, which was 9 hours, which you should be annoyed about, but it was the Nevada desert.
Yeah.
Like just
not much to see.
No, but it's everything to see. I've seen Back to the Future. I've seen every Western. So
you've seen Star Trek. You've seen Star Wars. That's it.
Every rock. You're like, I'm sure that's been in something.
Close Encounters.
That's it.
Even they stopped at like a pit stop, not a pit stop. What do they call in America? We call them services, don't we? But they call them like a truck stop.
That's it. Yeah. A service station.
We stopped off at this truck stop, and it's literally in the middle of the desert. There's a couple of shops. I got myself my first, what's them, American drinks.
Slushy.
Big guy.
Not big. No, it's the name of the drink. It tastes like mouthwash, but drinkable.
Mountain Dew.
Root beer.
Root beer. Oh,
Root beer.
AWs. Vile.
Yeah.
Vile.
I bought myself because I was like, I'm American now. I bought a massive one of them. Took one sip. I went, well, that's going to last me the rest of the journey.
Yeah, it's like cinnamon and a little bit of battery acid. It's such a bizarre taste.
It's weird, and how they.
No offense to anybody that's a big root beer fan, but
you can go to it, but it's not made for us over here. That's
no,
for sure.
Definitely not.
What we stopped at this services, and the bus driver was like, "We're just stopping off here at Barstow," and I'm like, "Yeah." And he walked off, and as he said Barstow, I'm like, "Why does that sound familiar?" And this guy tapped me on the shoulder. He went, "See what that is over there?" And all I can see is what looks like a racing arena. He went, "Have you seen Too Fast, Too Furious?" And it hit me, Barstow. I was like, "I know what that is." That's where he meets Roman for the first time.
Yeah.
All right, the 9 hours is totally worth it.
I think I would like to either travel across America by train or by motorbike, something like that. There is so many different geographical landscapes. You can see why many Americans never really get a passport, because they don't have to. They can witness all these different places and different national parks. That it's a big old place, and you're never going to see everything twice.
I'd like to do the old Route 66 in like
a
big Winnebago, like the big popper camper van, and
that's next, is it, Paul? Like the film Paul. That's it. It's just like that. Magic, Paul. You've planned it now. That's 2025 sorted out. Well done, buddy. Don't tell the wife.
51 and, yeah.
I'm just saying this now. I only met Paul 2 weeks before you were going. You're not getting away with going without me this time. I'm in. All right?
Good lad. Well done.
Woody's coming. We'll teach him all the films that were brought out before his time. He can teach us about the newer ones.
Yes, good. It's a good exchange.
It's a good exchange.
Going back to your trip then. So you got to San Diego. What was the first thing you did when you got there?
We
cried.
We got the train down, got off the train, grabbed an Uber straight to the hotel, which was about 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Checked in quick. And we wanted to get to the Comic Con because they do like a preview night on the Wednesday from like 5 till 9 p.m, say, or 10 p.m. And we got in the con about 7 o'clock. And it was like, where do we go? Where do we get our passes? We was taking a little bit in outside because we was there, but we said we'll check outside after, get some footage. Just wanted to get these passes because what made me anxious and Luke was we've gone all that way, and I know the passes all got arranged for us, but till they were in your hand, we don't know if we've got them.
There's a lot of the unknown. There was a lot of a sort of thing. And as Paul said before, like if we get out there, yes, we've got contacts both in the UK and in America, but there's a massive time difference. If we're stuck and we've got to speak with someone in England, we're going to have to pretty much get them out of bed to fix out this trouble. But we got there. We went to the admin to pick up our passes, and then what happened then, Paul?
Passes in hand in 5 minutes. Walked into the con, was on the floor in 5 minutes. So like 10 past 7, we was in the con at the DC booth and taking it all. It was really busy as well. Like this preview night, a lot of people go because the stalls, loads of stalls do exclusive merchandise. So they're all there to get that. And then next day, they're the early people in, So we sort of just had a scout around, didn't we? Like half the con, got a gauge of where bits and that were in there. So
it was just all extremely surreal to sort of have this build up over the weeks of planning and organising, writing down names and addresses and phone numbers, and then to finally be there. And the dude was like, "Name, ID, here's your pass." And we're like, we had to explain to the guy, we're like, "Thank you so much. You don't know how important this little transaction, as it were, is to us." And we shook his hand. We had a little chat, and then as Paul said, we were in San Diego Comic-Con, and it was a lot of times on this trip, it was like I had to be reassured that I was actually in these particular places. Paul kept on saying, "Look, we're going to Warner Brothers World tomorrow. We're going to San Diego tomorrow. We're going to the Funko shop tomorrow. We're doing this tonight." And there was always something else to keep that high going, which is probably why the jet lag has taken so long to get out of my system, because I don't want that week to end.
It weren't like we done the con every day, but every night as well. The Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had events every night. We were lucky enough to get invited to. The Thursday night was the fandom party, which is on the rooftop of the Hard Rock Cafe building, which we got invited to.
That was bizarre.
The Friday we done the Penguin Experience, which we'll talk a bit more on in a minute. Saturday night we did the Funko Fun Days, another event. And Sunday night we done a little Shaun of the Dead, the Winchester experience before we packed to come home, didn't we?
Feel like you're at home.
Yeah, no, it was. No, it really was. The experience, it was just like a little pub. It didn't look exactly like the Winchester, but it looked enough like it. There was a pool table. There was a zombie thrown into the jukebox. There was a dartboard. There were a few little Easter eggs around the place. But what I really found it to be quite authentic was when you went in there, you got a free drink. You got a can of strong pale ale, which was very nice. But they said, "Oh, you can't drink it here. You got to take it home." And I was like, "Okay." But it was when we got it, it was room temperature. And I thought, "Oh, okay." So it's they're keeping that English aspect alive of having warm beer. But it was a fun little. My eldest Lise, she loves anything to do with Edgar Wright. So she was like, "You need to make sure you can get to the Shaun of the Dead exhibition." And they did a really good job with that. And yeah, we had a game of pool, played some darts, bought some beer.
That's some like fake windows in there, which were lit up white, and you had all like zombies moving outside, like they were outside the window trying to get in.
Yeah,
little effects like that. It was good. It was a nice little half hour in there. They had a game you could play.
But yeah, playing pool. Did either of you, one of you, go? Can I buy any one of yous cunts a drink?
We were almost hitting each other with the pool cues at one point. But we were recreating some scenes, and they did have the
dart scene, and
they had a dart sticking out my head at one point. Yeah, and they did have the Winchester above the bar as well, and sort of little boxes of shotgun shells all scattered about. So as an experience, it was really exciting to see how a con can not just be within the building. That really did take over the whole of San Diego. And Paul and I have been to cons up and down the country and around the world. But to see this particular event embrace everybody else's passions and fandoms, but then take that one step further and embrace it within that neighborhood. So once the event's over, you've still got more stuff to do. You've got places to eat and drink and experiences and games to play all around San Diego. They really do embrace this whole world of entertainment. And obviously it makes them a heck of a lot of money. Yeah. And movies and TV shows can promote all their IPs, but it's still it's very exciting to be a part of that atmosphere, even just for a day. But to be there for like 4 days, Paul and I really became part of that community, and everyone was just so friendly out there. It was great.
Well, I would say for anyone who's never gone, like we hadn't before, like they have about 180 like activations, they call them, around on the water, in the city, in buildings, in the hotels. It's one of them. If you're going the week or two before you're going Comic Con, a lot of websites will open up. Like the Shaun of the Dead one, they opened free tickets. A lot of these venues are free. So it's literally get on the site, get your tickets for a day and a time, and you just get in a queue and you go in. But there was so much more that we could have gone. I think like one toy shop, Super 7, they had like a Turtles event all the time and you got free pizzas. There's always food and drink involved in all these, which is very good, in all these places. But it's one of them you could spend half your day in the con and half the day out in the town queuing and going in these activations, and nothing's too far. Everything's within a 5-10 minute walk, if that, or outside the con. So it's not only like, oh, we've walked around the con for the day, that's it. There's so much more going around in the whole town. It's you can't just do it all. We was told that from the beginning. You'd never be able to do everything, so don't be disappointed. And it's exactly that. You couldn't do it.
This is what I suffer. It's the ADHD part of me that I like when I do stuff, anything. I went to America, I went to LA, and then I did all these amazing things in 4 days. But all I've done since I got back is I could have done this, I could have done that. I'm like, but you've done so much in that time. You couldn't have fit anything else in. But I'm like, I could have walked down there, and that's the hotel from Angel Buffy.
That's it.
Just simple everything. You want to do everything. You want to say you experience every single thing because you're only there for that time. That
is completely it. Now, I always use one of these, talking about ADHD and focus. I have to have notebooks wherever I go. And I found these Daily Planet journals on bulk, nice and cheap. And I bought about 30. Yeah, there's Paul's one, because I sent him one through the post. And I was like, dude, we need to plan this trip well. And we did. And as you said, there were some things that we didn't get to do. And I think one of the only disappointments for me was that there were some items from the DC booth that got sold out really, really quick. But what I like about that is quite bittersweet. But seeing that DC booth for those 4 days of the con being so ridiculously busy and people wanting to buy new Superman merch, Batman merch, and comics and T-shirts, it was like, okay, DC Comics is clearly having a big comeback, and we were there for it. And not only that, James Gunn releasing the new DC Studios logo, well, the classic Bullet logo, which is one of my favorites. It was a great time to not only be a Superman fan, but be a DC Comics fan. Now, there was a big Marvel presence there at the con. It was an exciting booth. They didn't seem to have too much stuff for sale, even though Paul did manage to get his Wolverine popcorn bucket that
Nice.
Deadpool defiled on the con floor, very graphically. But yeah,
I did that to James and showed him the video. And he's like, oh.
don't eat out of it until after you've cleaned it, please. Thanks. But yeah, it was great to see the DC Comics booth so busy all weekend and have such a big amount of popularity for the con.
I think, yeah, because us as DC fans, I mean, we come from the era, I believe that we all come from the era of Keaton's and Reeves and the times when DC dominated. And we've watched Marvel grow, and I don't know about you, I've enjoyed the Marvel run.
Oh, no, completely, yeah.
Of course. But DC is my heart. My heart will always favour DC, but I'm not bitter about Marvel because it means I'm getting more superhero content than ever. But to see what we went through with, I mean, the DC universe that was just passed and what could have been, that was tampered with so many times, more times than it needed to be, and what could have been so amazing just didn't hit where we needed it to. We're now ready for this next phase. And I mean, you're wearing a t-shirt, Paul. People have been questioning that suit. I looked at that suit and my jeans got a little bit tighter.
I think it's one of them. Anytime you see a new suit, it's always questioned, and everything's HD now, ain't it, Ryan? Like everyone's got a camera phone, everyone's got so many megapixels, so you always see it out of context. And once they edit it and change the colour in and all the effects are added in, it looks so much nicer and sexier. And I know this is going to look 100 times better on the screen when we get to see how James finishes it. Which I'm just excited to see a little bit of footage, to be honest. He's finished filming now as well. So
he finished the day before con, didn't he? And it was like, I was here, I was watching all your stuff over here, like, please, just a little something. Even if it's just him flying past the screen as a red blur, I'd be quite happy. I saw a lot of that in Smallville. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with a blur. That's fine.
like the blur, yeah.
I've got bad vision. I can make of it what I like. But yeah, it could have happened. We would have. I think Paul said one of the big parts of Comic-Con is queuing up for Hall H, being in that big room when the big reveals happen. And I think Paul and I pretty much were like, well, if anything Superman related does get announced, and it'll be at Hall H. I think that, and Paul said, that would be one of the only times we would have queued up and technically lost a day, because there's a lot of time wasted for people that are traveling a long time. Some people go to Comic-Con just to be part of that experience of camaraderie and queuing up outside. But Paul and I wanted more experiences than just that.
Yeah.
But as Paul said the other day, if there was a Superman announcement, we would have queued up overnight for that.
And the one thing, Luke, I'm going back to Tim Sheridan here. Like, there was chatter that DC might be announcing something. There was a few little announcements here and there, but nothing in like the big movie world, But we was talking to Tim Sheridan, and he just come out in this chatter. He went, "Oh, you guys looking forward to like the secret DC panel with James Gunn tomorrow?" And I was like,
he was completely deadpan.
How he said it, and I was like, fuck, something is happening. Like, we've had to change our whole day Sunday, or whatever was going to happen.
But then he went, not
really.
really.
Us up, but in the end, I was like,
some Americans don't get our style of comedy at all. That deadpan sarcasm with a little bit of snarkiness. Yeah. But Tim Sheridan, bless him, is a DC Comics writer and a fantastic guy. He got our humour straight away. So I was like, oh, you bugger, you absolute swine. How dare you? But yeah, but just being there for just being a regular attendee of the con, I feel was enough for us to get the bug and to just have a fantastic time without having too many disappointments because we didn't have any really.
But that's it. I mean, obviously I texted you when you were there, Paul, didn't I? Saying like, are you going to any of the panels, or do you go into the Hall H panels on Saturday? And you said no, it's just a time. I was thinking about it, like, yeah. I mean, if you're going all that way, like you're there for a week, and 20, it's like 20-hour queues or something, isn't it? Like it's stupid,
Yeah.
hours and hours of queue, and it's like we're just going to be standing there watching everyone else enjoy himself while you're
Yeah, pretty much in that heat as well, and even in the shade, it was bloody hot. Really hot out.
My luck, you'd get on the back of that queue 20 hours, get to the front and they go, sorry, the line's capped now, there's no more passes. And you'd be like, what the fuck? We've just queued for a day and now we can't
sort it out.
Yeah.
That's absolutely it.
Did you guys see any like people cosplaying when you were there? Like, what was the best cosplay?
There were sort of some that were like on a professional level and some that were clearly homemade on the day of the con, which made it more fun because they were sort of everyone there. If you go and cosplay, you're there to be noticed and you're there to have your character that you're dressed up as recognized. It's like being accepted by the community. And we saw some brilliant and surreal suits. Lots of Superman, lots of Batman. Paul saw a fantastic Green Lantern, didn't you?
I see the pictures.
Green Lantern. I didn't know who the guy was. And funny enough, I've been following his work and I didn't realise it was him. And then someone tagged him, Mark, something like that. I'll find him. And I didn't realise it was him. And it was like, I think I got one of the only full shots of his body at the whole con that he'd started sharing. But the suit was amazing. I'd wear that. You know, like when the suit's that good, I don't care who it is. It's like, I'd go out in that. I was quite happy with that, you know?
There were some fantastic and sort of like Godzilla and a huge Megatron just walking around. But for me, obviously, we saw a whole family of Supermen and Clark Kents and Lois Lane and Superman. But for me, I love Jack Black. And on one day, there was a guy dressed as Nacho Libre. It looks fantastic. He was the most screen accurate Nacho Libre I'd ever seen. And we took lots of photographs. He was like, make sure you tag me in all the posts. And I was like, I will. But it was just great to see families there all dressed up as their favourite heroes, to see people just sort of, again, just geek out about the things that they love. Cosplayers really do make the event. And there were some people that don't even go in. They're just outside for photo ops and to sort of have interactions with the public. And it's a big part of the con.
Some good Deadpool, some good Wolverines. Obviously, the film was out that week, so that was cool. And a lot of the cosplayers look, weren't they, in character? Even like the guy you had like from Rick and Morty, you knew the phrases, and
it was the guys that have actually taken over the voice artist roles for Rick and Morty. So it was like, I can't do any interviews, but we can like have a little chat. Yeah, we had a little chat with Rick and Morty for a bit, and it was like great stuff. It was just people there that are passionate. And in previous years, people like famous people will go and they will walk the con floor, but in cosplay.
Yeah, Cavill with the is it V for Vendetta? Mark?
Yeah, V for Vendetta, which was like completely not related to Suicide Squad, but it was still like a fun little moment. And then it's easy to sort of because you do double take. We saw a few famous people around just walking the con that were there just to enjoy the experience. So yeah, you never quite know if you're going to bump into a cosplayer or the actual character that they are known for portraying.
I see you guys met Jim Lee. And once, right? You see him at the Penguin Experience, and you see him again at the actual con. Yeah,
both very interesting and exciting nights. But getting the autograph, that was great. We had a spare 5 minutes. It was like, Jim Lee signing now. If you make your way over there quickly, you might be able to get a signature. So we did. We bolted over to the DC Comics booth. And by this point, we knew where all the big locations were within the con. So we all had things to sign. So we met him and got some autographs, didn't we, Paul?
Yeah, got a couple of things. It was the day after they'd announced the DC logo, and at the end of the table, they had a nice white postcard with the logo on. So I went back to Jim's house. I had nothing else on me to get signed. I was like, and they was doing it all for free. And we was like, one of the last couple of people. So I was like, get that card. So I'm going to get that framed. It's nice to have that logo with his signature on, and it looks nice and clean, so I'm looking after that there.
And I travelled with whenever I go to a con, whether it be in England or the UK, I've got a replica of Action Comics #1. That was a nice reprint from a few years ago that I've managed to get quite a few signatures on over the years. So that one travelled in the hand luggage this year, funnily enough, because I didn't want to lose it. But that got signed by Jim Lee. But yeah, but we saw Jim Lee. Yeah, was it the night before that, Paul? At the Penguin night?
The Friday night we went to a Penguin event, which was the Iceberg Lounge. So if anyone's seen The Batman, amazing film.
Yeah.
It was an entrance to a club, and you went down into the basement, down an elevator, and you had actors in there. You even had like the two twins on the door, which were amazing. You couldn't make them move or budge or say anything or laugh. It was just like you didn't know how to react. They were so on point. And then you went down in the club. There was drinks, party, and then there was like a drugs zone, pretend, for the drops. And they signed you up to be like a drops dealer in the club, and you got some drops. Inside was like a nice pin, and they'd done tattoos and stuff like that. I'll let Luke tell some more of the story, because there was a club in the club. You know, like the 44 below, there was another club in this club that we could get access to with a password, Luke, wasn't there?
You had to sort of look for clues around the club. And there were newspapers on the floor. When we got to the front door, there were these two twins that were like bouncers. There was a poster next to me that had those little rip-off phone numbers underneath it. I thought, I'm going to rip one of those off. It could be a clue. And as I did that, I just heard this "hey" in unison from these two bouncers. I was like, oh shit, I think I'm really in trouble. These actors are really good, but they had all these actors throughout the club. And they were like, you can get into this part of the club, but you've got to go and find the password out first of all. So all of us were looking around this club, looking for clues, taking photographs, enjoying slush puppies and cocktails and hot dogs, looking for this clue. We didn't find the clue till we got home, because if there was something that wasn't nailed down in Comic-Con, I was taking it home from my scrapbook. And I got back to our hotel that night and I found this napkin for the Penguin, and underneath it said in small font, "Say Francis." So that was the password to get into the second club, which we did figure out because somebody told us. They did cheat a little bit.
We got in.
But we got in, and this second part of the club was very, very seedy. It was great. But there were gangsters in there. There was a guy making cigars, giving those out. People were getting jewelry put onto their wrists and more tattoos, and more drinks were made. And it was... Paul and I have been to immersive experiences before, but this was just on such a grand and elaborate scale that it made the night so much fun. And after that little club, we went back into the nightclub area. And now I'll let Paul tell the rest of this story, because this is where it got really interesting.
So we went in around 6 p.m. and it was getting near 8 p.m. And I know around 8 p.m. they were letting the public in. We were in early as like press and influencers and stuff like that. So you get the free roaming first and then all the experiences in there. And then Luke sees someone go up to the DJ stand and then talk. The lights come on, and then every like actor and staff in there reacted like in that second, like a code word was given, and there was like, everyone needs to leave. You all need to leave now. But it was all in a way, because they were actors and stuff in there. We thought it was all part of the experience to get out, and the next lot of people come in. So we're heading out, and they're going, "No, it's all okay. Just keep going out. We've got to go out." Blah, blah, blah. And we got coming up the stairs to come out in daylight, and I started to hear fire engines, and I was like, all I in the head was a bomb or an explosion or something had happened or was about to happen, and shit, we're in the middle of this. Got outside, 6 or 7 fire engines all pulling up, and the building next door, the kitchen or whatever it was on the roof, had caught fire. It was a big old fire. And big old
plumes of black smoke, and that's when Jim Lee just walked straight past in front of us because he was part of it.
It was crazy, wasn't it? And the whole street got closed off, and we were just taking it all in. Like, okay, lucky enough, we'd done the whole event.
Yeah,
we still had a free drink to claim, by the way.
We're not going to complain about it. We got through everything.
Yeah, we got everything. I didn't get my second drink. They still owe me a cocktail. But yeah, it was just so. It was another thing to add to the just surrealness of the week. I think I said to Paul at the beginning of the week, I do hope I see an American fire truck because I really like them. And then, like, shit, there were 6 of them coming up on the street. Yeah. But yeah, it was.
Imagine if you'd decided, you know what? Imagine, because it's America, you could probably get them in a tree. If you're like, should we try some magic mushrooms before we go in there? And that's all the lights come on and that. You're like, am I in a movie?
I was thinking, is this part of it? Did Batman do this?
Could you imagine?
Was it him?
The ceiling, like that, he's coming. It's coming. It's Pattinson.
Something in the way. But yeah, it was a very surreal night. But they all did a fantastic job of getting us out quickly and safely, and it still opened up like an hour later. So it was still open to the public. So they did a fantastic job. But just another little memory to add to that week of just absolute craziness.
Yeah, it made it
stories only you guys have got that you can tell your friends.
I mean, we knew that we were going to squeeze a lot into that week. Just, I don't think we had any idea of how much we would actually do. So finding those moments where we could like sit down, literally take a breather and prepare ourselves for the next day was very, very important. We got lots of great advice about this trip, and he's saying if you do go to this con, you need to go with at least some sort of game plan. If you go there and just wing it, you will have a dreadful time. Some cons in the UK, you can just rock up and walk around it in a couple of hours. On a con of this scale, you do need to prepare yourself. You need to go with water and snacks and battery packs and have a little emergency kit. But as con goers, for us to be there at this, the mother of all cons, as it were, it was certainly an experience. But yeah, we will never forget for sure. It
was one of them I've always wanted to go. Even mentioning Paul at the beginning of that, and I was like, one day I will go. One day we'll get there. And then it all happened this year. But coming home, it was so easy, wasn't it, Luke? I just think it was so. I think only from the planning we'd done the 6 weeks leading up to it, because we only had like 2 months' notice. Just the planning and speaking to other people that had been really helpful advice. I think if you did turn up and hadn't have planned anything, you'd have missed out on a lot of things, or you wouldn't have known how things work. So you wouldn't have been able to get passes and access to stuff, and you'd have just done the con and maybe a little bit outside if you was lucky queuing. But it just, after it finished, it was just like, it was quite easy. It went so smooth. And I think it's purely down to how the Americans run everything. They don't take any crap.
So organised.
It was
so organised and laid out. Yeah.
I've always been a fan of American customer service. Even something as easy as getting a drink as soon as you sat down for your breakfast. It's like, that's nice. I like that. It's the sirs and the ma'ams and the please and thank yous. So something that we could incorporate over here a bit more, I feel. I've worked in customer service pretty much most of my life, so I notice when it's done well. But the authority of each and every, not only paid member of Comic-Con, but there are a lot of volunteers that work it as well. You always felt like you were being told where you needed to be, what you had to do. You can't run. That's one of their big things. You can't run. You can't sit down in the queues. There's a system in place for a reason, and it's to make sure that everybody is safe. And they do such a grand job of that. Sometimes with cons in the UK, you can turn up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you will be queuing for a long time before you even get in. And then it's pretty much just like a free for all. People are going in different directions. People are swinging about and causing scenes. But that's how I thought San Diego might be. But I was very glad to be proven very, very wrong.
That's the one thing when my dad went to America with Ryan and his dad, my brother, and that's one thing I remember him saying when he got back, was one of the things he was so shocked about and he was amazed about was like how organised they are with these theme parks, with everything. It's just everything is just a system and it's done right, which they must. Like the amount of effort they must put in to get that right and training is amazing. Whereas, like you said about the immersive experiences you get out there. I mean, obviously I didn't go to a con. I went to like Universal and you do immersive things, and it's so unreal. And in the UK, we get the Willy Wonka one.
That's a very good analogy, Ryan. That you put that perfectly. And in the grand scheme of things, someone told me the other day that was only a few months ago. It feels like it was a year ago that bullshit happened, but it's not that long ago. But yeah, that is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, the stuff we get.
The UK is, as you said, Ryan, there's a system and it will work. I think the UK, and we do it in work and everything, we get a system in, we try it out, and then we don't like it, then we try another system, then we try a different system. And it's the same everywhere, whether you're going in McDonald's or out. It's just it seems to be every time you go there, there's a different system, and they've never got the right system that works, and just stay with it. And it's just how it's always been like that in Britain.
Yeah.
I just think it
Summed up in one word: Brexit.
There you go. But yeah, but I think with the San Diego Comic Con, they've been doing it now for so many years that they've had a few situations over the years where some things haven't worked, and they have been very strict with changing it straight away and putting new things in place. But there's always going to be things that could be improved, and I think they've had some feedback about some certain events this year that Paul and I didn't notice, but to the trained eye, things could have been better for some, and that's great that they want to keep changing things. But yeah, it was all again 1 week of just amazingness, and there was one other night because Paul had done so much planning. Every spare moment we were doing something fun, exciting, and new. And Paul had, with all his wonderful contacts, managed to get a trip to the Funko Fun Day, which by itself sounds amazing. Paul and I being big Funko fans, and Paul having his own pop culture Funko shop, this was a very unique experience for us both to go to. As I mentioned before, I'm a fan of Scientology and mysterious clubs, and any club that wants me as a member, I don't want to be a part of. But this Funko Fun Night was, for me, just an experience for me to sit back and watch it unfold. And for the unknowing eye, Paul, what is a Funko Fun Day?
Well, I knew. So Funko Fun Days every year, they bring a box of pops, and it's like they've got a mascot called Freddy. He's like a little gingery, freckly kid, a bit like me. And he's their mascot, and he'll come out in different forms as Batman, Stormtroopers, whatever. And some of these pops sell from £10 to thousands and millions, depending what you can get. Now, these boxes will come out every year in the UK and the US, and you can buy it, and they're randomly packed. But when you go to a Fun Days event, you not only get one of these special boxes that's only at the event only with other random pops in, you get more given all night. Now, I didn't read too much up on it. It was just like Funko were kind enough to invite us to it with Luke and got us tickets for the Saturday. And customers come in the shop who were into this stuff were saying, "You are so lucky you're going to Fun Days. You won't believe what happens." So then I started to YouTube a little bit and see a bit how crazy it got. And I'm not a lucky guy. We don't normally get some lucky stuff. So we turned up there. We had VIP tickets. There's all food and drink laid on. You could just help yourself all night.
Very nice food.
And it was a nice couple of hours. You've gone in, you got your box of Funkos before they gave more out in the evening. I got quite a good rare one in there and a couple of others. And then the night unfolded of noise and mayhem and cheering. And
within minutes. Within minutes, it just like went from a nice, almost like a wedding reception, with the room that was split into 4 sections, and there was a catwalk in the middle with this big fake pirate ship. And I thought, oh, that's a fun prop. And then we'd finished eating, we'd finished going through our boxes. Then the lights went down. It bloody kicked off in a big way. Everyone's suddenly screaming and shouting and hollering. They've got these big inflatable tubes that are being banged together, and I was like, I was dumbfounded. I was loving it. I said to Paul and some of the other guys at the table, I was like, this is 2 steps away from Scientology. to see how this fandom has grown over like 10, 15 years to this epic scale, where these much loved fans from around the world attend this event to get their hands on these Funkos, but also to be a part of this community, which is again a big part of what makes con so special. But for 2 hours it was like a pantomime on crack.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Oh yes, it was.
Very nice, Ryan. Very nice. But yeah, and there were
Still
more.
my first rodeo.
He's done well there. But they were giving Funkos out. You had to do little games and scream to make as much noise. I think every section sort of they plan it so you all get the same amount of different Funkos. But then Sean Astin came out from the Goonies and Lord of the Rings, throwing out Funkos.
Signed
Funkos.
Nice.
One of the actors from The Boys came out, and then Fluffy Iglesias, the comedian who's a big Funko ambassador, he came out, and it was just like it was 2 hours of a fever dream.
Yeah,
with Funko Pops.
And they normally only do it one night. So normally every year they do only the one night. So either like a Friday or a Saturday. This was the first year they'd done 2 nights, and I think it's between 1,000 or 2,000 people in there per night. I've heard rumours that this was their last one they were doing because there's a guy called Mike Becker. He was leaving. He's the one he sort of created Funko. But then they're saying it's still going to carry on next year just because the format is going really well. And you buy tickets for this and they sell out in seconds. So it's one of them. I can see why some people can get some really expensive stuff. And I'll never forget Luke getting up so quick at the end when it finished about 10 o'clock. He was up and going, and I was still happy to sit there for a little while. I was like,
It's like my head's about to explode.
I've got to get out of here. This is like that. And we went out.
Head was spinning.
And everyone had stalls set up. They were selling all their Funkos, trading. Even we were outside waiting for a cab. There's people looking in my bag. You've got these massive bags. Like, oh, what have you got in there? Do you want to trade this? Do you want to buy it? Do you want to sell it? No. I wanted to get back because I know some of this stuff is worth some money on the rarity. I wanted to get back to the hotel safe to see what I really had because it was just one of, is it a tenner? Is it 1,000? We don't know. And it was mad. I've never been nowhere like, and I'd go again.
I would go again. It was sort of, we were just sitting there and I was watching it all unfold, and then the lights came down and sort of you got instructions to shout at certain times, and I found myself getting so involved, and I was out banging my tubes together. I was whistling. We both lost our voices after this event, and I think I had to leave just to sort of, I need some fresh air. I can feel myself coming under the Funko curse. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's good.
I was going to say, that's the Funko that you sent me the picture of, wasn't it, Paul? The one you sent me of earlier.
Yeah, the Marvin the Martian. Oh,
yeah. You were very excited to get that one, Paul, weren't you?
Absolutely beautiful. Wood, I've got a question for you, right? Not like the world's biggest comic book fan, right? Obviously, you've heard of Comic Con before. You know what Comic Con is. You know what goes on there. Now, listening to the story, if somehow we were managed to go right, someone through the podcast, are we going? Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Good boy.
Right,
well
boys,
done.
I think we've got a team going, right?
That's it. That's enough. It's going to be an English takeover.
It's not far away.
Yeah. That's it. New York Comic Con first of all. Give us some prep time, and then we can do San Diego next year.
I don't know if the missus will let me do New York for a couple of months, but San Diego a year. Sweet something.
Bosh, done. Jobs are good then.
Oh, can you imagine New York? As much as I'd have to do everything DC that was going on at New York Comic Con in New York, I don't care what I'm doing straight away. Anything other than going down to Hook and Ladder 8 and taking a picture outside the firehouse.
And the day
I regret not going to Hooker 8 back. I went to New York 2000 and 2002, and I regret not going there. But there are so many iconic movie buildings there, and studio tours and film tours that you can do. I think combine that with LA, you just got those two very different cities that are just famous for being in very, very fun movies. But there's just a certain coolness about New York that always wants to call me back.
I've always wanted to go there. Always wanted to go to New York.
See, that's it. Florida's it's great to go for, and I'd love to. I've never done Florida. I've only ever done LA, Vegas, and But I'd love to go to Florida, but that to me was that's where I'm going to go for more of a relaxed holiday. I want to do everything else. I want to go see everything else. Where all the movies, like when I went to LA, my favorite film of all time, and it always shocked people that see all my Superman tattoos and stuff like that. My favorite film of all time is Stand By Me.
Okay.
Because I mean, yes, I love my superheroes, everything like that, but that film, it's always been with me. It's simple, and when I went to LA and I was that close to Oregon, but yet you say that close,
it's not that close.
It's actually longer than it would take to drive from the bottom of England to the top. It's close, but being that close and not being able to go there, but I got the Stand By Me moment of when I did one of them. You know, you go around the houses and you see, this is where this person lives, which that part is actually terrible because they point a mile down the road and go, that's where Madonna lives. That window you can see in the distance, that's where Madonna. All right, thanks.
Nice, thanks for that.
I'm not going to see Madonna's shadow walk past that window. But they took us down by the all the nightclubs in LA, and as the guy was like, this is all the famous nightclubs. My fault, if you know you Stand By Me. River Phoenix, Viper Rooms, he died outside. And as I started putting the two and two together when he said nightclubs, the guy goes, if you look to the right, you'll see the famous Viper Rooms. Instantly I went, I've got a Stand By Me moment.
That's it. And that's all it can take is that moment. I think that's one of the big moments we got when Paul finally and I got to Christopher Reeve's star. It was like that, we're here now. This is, we were waiting for a certain moment on this trip. We were like, okay, this has actually happened. This isn't a dream. This isn't in the planning mode. Pinch ourselves. We've made it. We are here. And I think those moments for us were the Christopher Reeve star, being outside San Diego Comic-Con building and being at the DC Comics booth and like thinking, these are the moments, these are the things that we've been waiting for. And yeah, those definite memories there for a very long time to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've done most of the journey. Me and Woody were planning, if we do this interview, we were going to talk about one more thing, just us. But I mean, if you guys have seen what we could talk about, we could potentially talk about it with you if you wanted to. Have you seen that movie? Have you seen it yet?
What one? Deadpool?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Because obviously, Paul, I know you were waiting for when you come back because you had to wait for your son, wasn't it? You promised the
Yeah.
son you were going.
And I have seen it as well.
Yeah.
You can talk about it. You won't. There'll be no spoilers here for me and Paul.
Yeah, right. You've seen the film, and obviously that's it. That when Paul said, "Imagine when he's going to San Diego Comic," and the fact they showed it with them there, didn't they? They showed the film and brought all the cast out, and Paul was being a good dad and waited to see it when he got back.
He was. He's very, very restrained. Now,
There was a guy in the queue talking about the film. I was at a queue getting James that Wolverine popcorn bucket, and he was talking, this fucker. And he was talking to the guy, and the guy's like, "No, I've not seen it yet." "Oh, yeah, I've seen it." And he was gagging to say stuff. And I'm standing there, I'm thinking, if I leave this queue, I've got to come back and queue in it. And I'm near the front now. And I'm just wanting to say, like, shut up, because I don't want to know anything. The guy's like, "No, I don't want to hear anything. Don't tell me." And then he carried on, but he didn't give away any spoilers. I think he got the hint from the guy, and he just shut up in the end. I'm like, please, you're right next to me, and I'm nearly home. Come on.
Well, the good thing about spoilers, I'm going to say we're recording on the 6th of August. This will come out not this
Way
Friday,
out.
the following Friday. It's given people nearly a month to talk about it. We've all seen it. So we're an hour and 6 minutes into the pod. If you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine and you've enjoyed the chat with the guys, leave now.
Please leave. Please leave
yeah.
now. Please, piss off.
If you have seen that film, I'm going to say one thing and start with Cavalrine.
Yep, it needs to happen.
Cavalrine, oh my God.
He's grumpy. He can fit the mold. He did the double punch. He was growly. He always looks good with facial hair, whether he's got a mustache or whether he doesn't. That, for me, pretty much that scene got spoiled for me as soon as it aired in America.
Oh.
Sadly for me, sometimes some people online like to message me straight away and assume that I've seen everything the moment it comes out. Sometimes it's a good and bad thing. It's very exciting to be a part of that world. I knew some people more recently that have living in Ohio and working on the Superman set. So their shops have gotten closed down and turned into the banks of Metropolis. And they've directly sent me photographs from the set that I don't want to see until the film comes out.
Forward them on to me. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm over it now. I mean, as long as I get some surprises when the film comes out, I'm happy. But yeah, I came back and I went to see the film the other day. I mean, pretty much on the X and Instagram and Threads, the whole film is bloody streaming.
Yes, literally.
Which is really annoying.
Caught it, yeah.
And there's some good quality versions of like certain scenes going on.
What's going on?
Well, Henry
I've seen about 30 times.
It's really amazing. It was fantastic opening scene. But I went to the cinema to see it as well because I wanted to support cinema. I wanted to support this film because it is... In 10 years' time, will this film be as majestic on a home screen? I don't think it will be. It's a fantastic film, but it's an experience movie. You have to see that with an audience on a big screen. Yeah. And that moment when I knew it was Henry because I'd already seen the clip. I was like, he's a bloody good Wolverine. We know that he looks good in a vest because he's made computer screens in that blue vest for God knows how many years. But seeing him as a very angry Wolverine was like, yeah, he did the double punch from Mission Impossible.
And what I loved about it is how they did it, because when you saw him go for the variants, you saw him see the back of Patch that we'd seen in the trailer, and everyone was like, "That's Daniel Radcliffe, that's Henry Cavill, that's Taron Egerton." You saw the glimpse of him from the front, so you saw it was Hugh. Then you saw the back of Henry, and it cut away, didn't it? So you were kind of left thinking that was just another Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And when he comes back and he goes, "Hey, you kind of look like Henry Cavill."
Remember the Wolverine thing in London the other week we went to?
Yes, the one that I was
Oh.
hoping to go to and got a rejection letter the day before.
Oh,
Would
man.
have been in there. So we saw that first 35 minutes, and that was in that. They cut that part out of the bit we saw. So it was added back in, obviously, in the full version. It was like, so it was a nice surprise that didn't get spoiled straight away. It was quite good.
Mm.
It's like when I went to see The Flash a month before it come out. They said that it's going to be not the final edit, and it ends with him getting off the phone with Bruce Wayne, and you see the feet get out of the car, and then he goes, "Who the fuck is this?" And it ended.
Yeah, we did. We got that one as well. We didn't
Oh,
see
you
George.
see-
We didn't see George Clooney then. We were like, "Hang on, who?"
That was 5 seconds of a movie that was so worth another month's wait. I don't care about what everyone's opinion online is about George Clooney. I was 11 when that film come out. I loved his bat nipples. I was happy with it. I really, really like Batgirl's bat butt as well.
I mean, Alicia Silverstone, she can do no wrong. I'll tell you what.
She saved that movie without even needing it to save it for me. The rest of the film could have been 10 times worse than it was, and I still loved every part of it, especially when she appeared.
Yes, good scenes. Good scenes.
Oh, I was clueless about who she was before that. Boom, boom.
Very nice.
What about the other appearances in Deadpool Wolverine, which were more like surprises rather than cameos? What do you think of them?
Well, oh my God! Now, did you clock when the hood come down and you saw Chris Evans? Was you straight away knowing what version it was?
No, I
See,
didn't.
I don't know why. I saw the collar gave it. I knew because the collar looked black around the top. I knew, and I see people were talking about the red glove he was wearing that to make it look like Cap. I instantly, the first thing I saw was the collar, and I went, and I literally said to my stepson, "That's Human Torch."
Yeah, see, I didn't. I thought I got tricked by it.
Yeah, I was tricked. By it, and then he fell. I was like,
Yeah.
light bulb.
Everyone I knew said they did not have a clue. And I was like, I don't know why. It was just that bit.
That was enough. That was
That
enough to do
for me
it.
to go, he's Human Torch. And then when he swore as well, because again, if we know Cap,
No swearing. Language.
Censor it.
That's it.
I like Gambit. I've always been a Gambit fan from like the X-Men '87 and stuff. So to see him back and trying to do the accents, I think he did do a few versions.
My God.
Real Cajun. I've spoken with a few people from New Orleans before and from different areas of New Orleans, and you've got that French twang, you've got that Cajun, and some of the stuff that he was coming out with. I do want to see the film again with subtitles to make sure I did hear what I actually heard.
Yeah.
Some of it was absolute filth.
He's probably the most memed part of the film now.
I think so. He's done well.
That and bye.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was Ryan Reynolds when he says to him, "Who learnt to who done your
dialect coach?"
It's like,
lots of references in that film. Lots of different IPs getting a little bit of money throughout that whole film.
Would obviously in that moment, obviously that kind of who came in there, Elektra, and then you had obviously our Blade, the one and only Blade.
The Blade.
Obviously, that you were quite young when Daredevil and Elektra come out, or Blade. Did you watch them when you were younger?
No. So I was a bit like I didn't know who they were. But
that's 10 years difference, and that's mad, isn't it? Because we grew up with that.
Marvel was a different world back then, Woody. You need to go and watch Elektra. You need to go and watch the original Daredevil, the original Bullseye with Colin Farrell. Marvel was in a very different place back then. Comic heroes were still appreciated back then. Possibly not
differently,
very differently. They're still fun comic stories. I recently rewatched Elektra and Daredevil a few weeks back, and they are fun movies to get lost in, which is what films are made for. But compared those to Marvel films today, it's a completely, literally different universe and different.
And DC did it as well. Like you had Green Lantern, Catwoman with Halle Berry. So it was the same. It was like there was no fixed plan. It was just these random films were popular.
But now everything has to be, doesn't it? And the fact that they're melding the universes that we never... You think before No Way Home, would we ever thought we were going to see some of these crossovers that we're seeing now?
Never.
No.
I mean, Multiverse of Madness, was ruined by online spoilers. Them cameos that you got, to me, they weren't good enough because
Yeah.
they were the ones that we'd heard first off.
Yeah, we knew they were
online.
coming. We had
Then it
too
was
many
Deadpool.
expectations.
We had Deadpool. We had too many expectations. But this one, I had a lot of expectations going into this, and I was gutted that we didn't get Deadpool officially with any of the Avengers. But I got it when it come to the end, and you like, this is a love letter to everything we've seen from those universes, including the universes we shouldn't see, like Blade, because it wasn't part of
No,
Fox.
back then it wasn't. Yeah.
And then where he's going to go forward, because it's opening a lot of stuff for the future now. So it's quite exciting to see where he's going to go. And then Disneyland launched their Deadpool in Disneyland like the day after.
Yeah, a Deadpool like character within Disney World is such a mad concept to me. Obviously, he doesn't say most of the things that Deadpool would say, but he's still pushing the edges. And the fact there is a Deadpool on a Disneyland theme park, that is, it's a crazy idea. And that's down to Ryan Reynolds, without a doubt.
When
100%.
The other day, because it's Autumn, my stepson, he's only just getting into actually watching movies, and he watched I think it was Doctor Strange with us Madness last week with his older cousin, and he said, "Can I go see Deadpool Wolverine?" I said, "You can't, because he's up." And then I was like, "I wonder if I could, we were kids, we watched that older film when we were younger, so I wonder if he could watch Deadpool." And I put it on. He started watching, and then the first scene started, and I was like, "Oh, he's blowing their heads off." And then he disappeared. He went off to go play his Xbox and that, and the film carried on. And then it gets to the bit where he meets Vanessa.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the montage. And I was like, you know what? It's probably not a good idea that he doesn't actually watch these films, because it's not just about the superhero. He's literally getting pegged.
What's pegging, Daddy?
What? What's that? Why is she behind him?
Turn it off.
Yeah. There wasn't so much of that in this one, but like the moments you got with every film, again, it's everywhere. You weren't for that era. What moments hit you? Would like you obviously you text me straight away, that fucking film's amazing. What hit you?
Oh, mate, I just, the whole film just had me in stitches, and the whole cinema, to be fair, it was such a great experience. But like you said, Luke, watching it in a cinema, I don't think watching it at home would have the same effect, because you literally had the whole theatre in stitches. That was the experience for me. The whole film.
And it's sense just by their noises that people make in the cinema, how much of a geek they are.
Yeah.
And then over exactly. And when people aren't laughing, you're like, we're all in this together.
But not just that, there's some fantastic cinematography in it and some wonderful acting chops from Hugh Jackman. There's some wonderful, really hard-hitting scenes. But for me, I like an extended shot, whether it be a fight down a corridor or a prison scene. And we got that towards the end of Deadpool when all the other Deadpools came out. Yes, there was lots of CGI involved, but it's one continuous action shot that reads from left to right, like you're reading a comic. And it was just beautifully done for me.
And it's that moment, like when obviously we've seen the trailers, we see them walk behind that truck, and you see how much we see of that in the trailer. There is literally a millisecond before his hands start going up that we didn't see, and it just changes the whole dynamic of that scene when that hook goes over.
You're
and
good.
like Deadpool's reactions, like people say, are our reactions, which is what he doubles down on what we're thinking when he goes, "Holy shit!"
I like the white eyes. I like the white eyes in the mask. They probably fought for that with the comic people. But if there's a Batman in the future, let's have him have white eyes. Let's give him that comic accurate mask.
That look good.
Because
I think it would suit Patterson's version the most so far.
Yeah.
With the because with the cow we had, I've always said that's the one thing that I didn't love was the cow, but I get it. He's still early Batman. He needs to make it more powerful. It needs to be bulletproof and stuff. So I was like, I'm hoping that becomes a part of it in the next one. It's the white eyes, because he is technically the most comic accurate detective Batman we've ever seen.
There you go.
So it'd suit him so much.
Only 6 months, you might get to see it, Ryan. They start filming.
It might happen, hopefully with more leaks, but there are rumours that he might appear in the Penguin TV show.
That's
He's got to, right?
Hope so.
I love Colin Farrell, and what he does in this is going to be very, very clever. So
yeah.
I'm ready for that day one for that series.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not enough buzz about it. I'm dying to see Peacemaker season 2. That
See,
season 1
it
is
was
so good.
for me. It had elements of The Boys. It had some little elements going back as far as Smallville for character introductions. It was beautifully done. It was funny. It had some silly, gory moments. It had some action moments as well. And that, again, it was another look into the world of James Gunn's head, of what he is capable of doing when he gets given free roam, which is why a lot of people think, oh, he's going to make this Superman really, really gory and violent and filled with toilet humor. I was like, I think looking at what he can do, he really gets an idea of the characters before he does anything. So that's why I'm very, very excited and intrigued to see what he does with the world of Superman, because he's really an ambassador for the characters that he helps bring to life.
Well, this is what I've always maintained. Like, yes, he's made decisions that have upset me because, of course, I wanted to see more Cavill. Of course, I love Ben Affleck. But but when he was first announced, we all said he's too old to play a Batman for a long time. And James Gunn said his decision is purely with the Henry Cavill thing. Is I need him to be doing this in 10 years at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Henry Cavill is at the age where he's a wizened Superman now, so we could still get him come back in the multiverse at some point.
Might do. Yeah.
Upsetting that he's gone, and I am very upset. But I've never seen a bad James Gunn comic adaptation that he's done. So I have every faith that what he's doing, and the fact that we're getting a Superman movie with characters. The fucking Crypto's going to be in the
I'm a big Crypto fan. There's Cryptos everywhere, and when I heard those rumors about that, I was like, okay, he gets it. And I mean, I've always been supportive of the character. I'm always going to be Team Superman. That's my team. Players will come and go. That's how I've always seen it. And as long as Superman's story's being told, I'm happy, because in years to come, there's going to be other people taking on that character. And that means my hero story continues to be told. And I'm very, very excited to see what James and David can do with this role.
I've seen when it comes to Superman, there's not one Superman I would put down. Like, and same with Batman. Because like I said, even George Clooney, he was Batman for that year because that's what came out, and I got to see it. I loved Arnie. I was big into cheesy Arnie at that time because I just got through Jingle All the Way a year or so ago. I was all for it, for every part of his jokes. I was into that. I was a '90s kid. I grew up with cheese.
That's
Jesus
it.
Christ. I love the Venga Boys as much as our other host Tony does, and Mambo Number 5. But like Brad and Ralph, yes, I came out of that movie thinking there wasn't enough action for me, but I love what he's doing. I can't wait for the next one. They didn't do it, but we got him back, and he proved in 5 minutes in a crossover what we could have got.
I love that.
Oh, mate, absolutely amazing.
I done
Tom
well.
Welling never technically played Superman, but all day long I would let him wear them tights because he made Clark Kent so fucking believable.
That's it. I mean, he's always been my favourite interpretation of Clark Kent, and it was always no flights, no tights. But we got that a couple of seconds on the very last episode of Smallville where we saw Brandon Routh's Superman of all things, but the fact that he interpreted such a perfect Clark Kent, and Smallville was my gateway drug into the world of Superman many, many years ago. Woke up one Sunday morning with a hangover, put on E4, and Smallville was playing episode 1. I was like, oh, well, I recognise this story. I recognise these characters. And from that, I wanted to learn more about Superman. And here I am today, meeting heroes that have become my passion over the last bloody 20 odd years or so.
It's amazing. Do you listen to Talkville?
I do.
Oh, mate. desperate to get to be one of the patrons to go on the episode, just to remind Tom of the story and get it on the episode of the chicken.
I've tried phoning in. I've left a few voice messages, but just to hear those guys talk so passionately and very candidly about a show that had its good and bad moments, it's a fantastic podcast.
One thing I won't forget about Smallville was it was in the day and age of the slow internet, and I would load my laptop up, download it, leave it under my bed going all night, get up in the morning, it was still only halfway, and it used to take like 20 hours to download one episode.
Good old LimeWire.
See, the fact that Smallville has like a story for everyone that loves Superman. Like for me, like I'd gone through a period where I was told you cannot, as a kid, you've got to get out of superheroes, can't be into Power Rangers, can't be into Batman. So I stopped, even though I then got into wrestling and realised later on that was me still holding on to my geek side. I sort of stopped everything else. It was just wrestling that I was into because that's cool. A lot of people like wrestling now. And then Smallville, it was actually I was like 20, I think. It was when season 5 was coming out. My friend had been going on at me like, "You need to watch this show. You will love this show." Like, but for some reason, I had it in my head. It wasn't a Superman story. Smallville. It was around the same time as that Roswell. I thought it had something to do with that because it was a town name.
Yes.
So I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. Yeah. And then my friend was like, "Look, I'm going to give you the DVDs. Watch them." I watched them over 2 weeks, and midway through that, I was working in Oxford Street in London, and I one day I was so into this show, I walked straight down to HMV and bought my first Superman T-shirt.
Good boy.
I felt it, I just felt like, no, I've denied this for like 10 years.
I did the same. I went to HMV at Lakeside, Ryan, and got the old Superman S. I'll never forget the first day I wore that, and it was like, I was the same. I was more into WWE and wrestling growing up, and it weren't the superhero thing. Although Christopher Reeve Superman and that was out, there weren't really a lot going on in Batman '89. It was wrestling, but then that you're exactly the same timeline as me. There, that's what it was.
I remember walking through Oxford because I straight away went straight to the toilet in HMV, changed into the top, even though I had to wear a shirt and a tie. I was looking for some glasses. I walked straight. I was like, I'm walking back down the street. I'm wearing this T-shirt. And I'm bowling down there like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a thing, and I feel like just by looking at him, we are making Woody more and more into a DC fan than he's into the Marvel that he grew. Because again, it's such a weird, like when you say to kids now, "Oh, no, I'm not DC, Marvel." Like, not you're a kid would, but like that's just one generation down. Is how different they
are. Completely. There's layers, much like an onion. There's many, many layers to the world of DC Comics.
The next time you guys come on, I might have a decorated background like you guys.
We're going to send you some stuff. Don't worry about that, Woody. You need some posters there behind there, son. We'll get that
he said it was going to be football stuff earlier. We need to stop that happening.
I've just moved in here, so
we'll send you some swag, mate. We'll get that sorted.
Yeah, we'll get it up.
There we go. We've literally nearly done an hour and a half, boys. I've enjoyed every second of this, and honestly, Woody's already said it. Next time you come on, that preempts the question. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, please.
Gladly. No, it's a great time.
Come be part of the Talks world. On that note, obviously, I'm going to get you guys to tell us just your socials, where to find you. Because Luke, you also do your own. I looked at your link tree, and I see you've got your Geek of the podcast of Steel. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
But there's also another podcast. Is that yours? To do with Portsmouth?
That's the Portsmouth Comic Con. Many years ago, Portsmouth Comic Con started here back in 2018, and I was like, okay, let's give this a shout. It's the first time Portsmouth has done anything like this, so I was like, let's get behind it. Let's give them a little bit of free promo and see what they can do. And over the years, I've been working with Nick and Kurt, and I've seen this event evolve, but not lose the basics of what a Comic Con should be. So I've been ranting and raving about Portsmouth Comic Con at San Diego. This event, it's true to the fandom. So they're big on comics, they're big on families, they're big on cosplay. It's not about buy a ticket to a con, come in, spend some more money to get an autograph, and spend 2 seconds with a celeb for a photograph. This event is one weekend that I look forward to throughout the year. And I've been hosting their podcast now for a couple of years, just doing them, interviewing some of their guests, and giving it a bit more marketing, because I really believe in this event. So if you're ever this way, guys, Woody, if you want your
Well,
first con, get down here.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, Woody and Tony, one of our other hosts, they both live in Sheffield. Woody's from Essex, but moved up when my brother moved up to
Okay,
Sheffield. So I want them to, I want him to try and get into the cons up there in a little way.
good.
Obviously, I'm from Essex.
Get down here.
Obviously, still work in Essex, but I live in Sussex
Okay.
along the south coast. Where are you from? Portsmouth yourself?
I'm from Portsmouth, born and bred, right in the middle,
Right, there you go.
slap
Paul
bang,
can pick
middle of
me
the
up on
country.
the way, or
I've
he can
told
get a
Paul
train down.
Paul could get a Geek Garage booth going at Portsmouth Comic Con and make an absolute packet.
I'm
Live
only down the road.
podcasts, Q&A panels, it's all there waiting for you, Paul and Ryan. So get down there.
I
Maybe
It's,
When is
summer.
it?
Next summer's
What's that,
one.
Luke?
When
see?
is it?
It's
Yeah,
normally in May of each year. So
Okay,
it's
we've got some
good
time to
weather.
plan
You
out.
got some time to plan it. I'll put a word in for you. We'll get you all sorted out and on the books. But it's an event that over the years is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've noticed, and they've noticed, that other Comic Cons in the area and across the country are taking a few of their ideas and trying to replicate them,
Imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
but they're not imitating it as well as they could. Is what I've noticed. We like
Exactly.
that, and it's continuing to grow. And it's what I love is it's making the next wave of geeks. It's putting that out there. Back when we were young, it was hard to find events like this. They weren't that available. It was for being a geek, as it were. It used to be a slur when we were in school to be a nerd.
Yeah.
When I'm not doing any of this, I work in an optician's. So I get people coming in and saying, I want glasses that make me look like a nerd. I'm like saying, whoa, you can't look like a nerd or a geek. It's a way of life. Okay.
Whereas when we in the 90s, it was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to wear glasses. I'd rather go blind.
Exactly, which is
I don't
why I
wanna
probably
look
work
a
in an
nerd.
optician, which is why I've got such bad eyesight. These are not for show. But yeah, it's a fantastic event, and it really does embrace passions and fandom, which is what I'm all about. And that's what I do on my podcast. It's just talking with passionate people like yourself, Ryan, and Woody, and you get to
get
see
there.
that when you talk on podcasts like this and talking with people around the world. I've noticed that when you talk with someone about anything that they love, a little light comes on inside them, much like a Care Bear. This passion starts to irradiate out with them, and you see this part of them come alive. And it's like, I want to bottle that. I want to feel that way as much as I can, which is why.
When they the radio sent me the email with Paul, I was like, instantly, I don't usually reply to them. I let them do all the interaction, set it all up, and it sounds like such an egotistical DJ. It's because I've got kids and I'm always. I saw this. I saw the words DC and Comic Con. I went, I'm getting on this. I'm replying straight away. Oh, I'm following you on everything. Right, we're going to talk. And I was so buzzing. I'm like, this. I've done interview. I mean, I've done some of the most random interviews on there. I've done some great ones, but I've done the most random interviews. Like I had to interview someone about a funeral home. How do you make that sound interesting? Like I had that. But when I saw Comic Con DC, I was like, they've been holding this one back for me. This is be the one. And before the first thing I did, before I even emailed Paul, I emailed Johnny, the one of the what's he called? He's the guy that basically runs it, the shows and everything. He's the overall guy. I can't think of the word.
Engineer.
Producer.
Producer. Yeah, he's a producer. I emailed him straight away saying, I'm just going to let you know and hope it's okay. I'm probably going to invite this guy onto my podcast because it makes more sense to be on my podcast than it does on the radio station in Basildon because I've got people who listen. And I told straight away, I went, going to get you on the podcast. Then he told me about you. I was like, we'll get you both on the podcast. We're all going to be friends in this. We're going to be a great time. Paul, right. Okay. We'll go round and do everyone's socials because I'm sure everyone's got a life to get back on with as much as we can. Paul, not only do you have your socials to give us, but you've also got a location we can come to and visit you and what you sell.
I have. So not only have I got dcworld.org.uk and all socials DC World, I've also got the Geek Garage shop and website, and the shop is in Wickford in Essex, open Thursdays and weekends, and full of nerdy stuff, pop culture and goodies if you want to come and buy anything. Pokemon, Funko Pops, Lego, all down there.
Looking forward to it. I love it. I'm definitely coming. I was going to try and come in this Saturday because I had another one of these kit, but I got up so late. I was like, I was going to surprise you and turn up, but I will do when I'm not. I'm going to try and do it when I've not got such an early start day. Luke, give us your socials. Give us where we can find you. And
If you just search for Luke Bugg, the Geek of Steel, you will see this furry face. I try and stay up to date with all the social channels, but there are so many now. But Instagram, Facebook, X, and Threads, just search for Luke Bugg, and 2 G's, you will find this wonderful furry face.
there we go. Woody, do you want to give your socials before we wrap up?
Yeah, my socials are Woody HD. But yeah, it's been lovely talking to you both. Lovely to meet you both, and can't wait to have another chat with you already.
I think
Woody's
this
learned-
it's been an interesting discussion. I think sometimes hosting a podcast with one or sometimes two guests is tricky, but you've both done a fantastic job on this one. Paul and I are still both very, very excited about this trip. And I think a chat in the future about other things could be very, very fun.
To be continued.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
When I brought Woody on, it was to the podcast. It was because of his knowledge of the technology. He's got us to where we were just audio before. He's got us to where we are. It's also because, like I said, I am massive on the superheroes. Everything. Like Woody he's real into his gaming and he knows how to do the streaming and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, you deal with that. Tony's all about the 90s. So we've all
You've got something.
And I love with Woody, especially because he's my nephew. Like I want him to be into the stuff I'm into as much as he is. He's into wrestling. So watching his face, I've watched it through him. He's just taking it all in. I'm like,
I found it really fascinating.
By the end of this year, he's going to know everything about DC that I've always wanted him to know just from these conversations.
Well, on the next podcast, Woody, there will be a quiz, and only you will be answering the questions. Okay, so there we go.
Okay.
Quiz. For me, the socials are at the DJ Ryan S on everything. Our socials, as you know, Facebook, X, TikTok, and Instagram is at Talk Podcast. Don't forget, as always, we have our special promo code for Tree Frog Grading. If you are a card collector, Pokemon or football or whatever card you collect, go to Tree Frog Grading's website and use the code TWD15 for 15% off. This is Talks with Dorks, episode 14, Woody?
I think so.
I think so. We'll be back. Well, season 2, episode 14. We'll be back. Final words and goodbyes, boys. Let's start with the man that brought us all together. Paul, say your final outro.
Oh, goodbye. Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. And Ryan, thanks for having us both on as well. It's been absolutely amazing.
You're welcome.
The Geek of Steel himself, Luke.
Yes, Ryan Squared, thank you very much for the two of you. Paul, thank you to you, buddy, for being a fantastic companion on this trip. This trip wouldn't have been as successful or enjoyable without your being there with me. And this is what I love doing, is just talking with passionate people about the things that bring us joy. The world can sometimes be a bit of a shitty place. So when we can find times to talk about the things that bring us immense amount of joy, you need to grab those moments whilst you can. So this for me was a perfect evening spent.
Thank you to you, Luke.
Woody.
Good event.
I couldn't put it any better. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us, Luke and Paul. It was lovely to talk to you.
There we go.
This is Talks with Dorks. See you later.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman.